Good afternoon, how is everyone? How are you all? I've been here for a while. I was busy last week, really busy, never got a chance to get a video out. So I didn't put a video out for Usyk and Rico. I'm going to just touch on that, not too much, because I know everyone's fucking talked the life out, haven't they now? Just going to touch. Oh, hang on. Before we start, I've got this program from Fury McMurdoch, and I've got these. These are like these are the ring wristbands that glow up like you're at a Coldplay concert. Two of them as well. So I'm going to do a giveaway with them. You can have them absolutely for free. I'm going to give them to the 900th subscriber. Now, before I hear you say, oh, I've been here since, I was like your 150th subscriber. Right, I thought about that. So all you got to do is, I want to give this away for the 900th subscriber. I'm currently like 882, 883. So all you got to do is get your missus or your mate or your son, or create another account and just fucking get up to that 900, get in the 900. Then whoever's the 900 subscriber, I'll see it on my YouTube studio, and you can message me on the inside of this Instagram. You can tell me that was you, and I'll send it to you completely free for nothing. Just a click of a button. That's all right if you're a memento or a merch collector. So yeah, you can have that. You can have that on me. That's the type of guy I am. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not going to touch too much on Rico Usyk, but let's just cover most of the talk that's been generated after that, which is Usyk got old overnight and he should retire now. We won't really know if he's really has aged that badly as he looked overnight until we see him out again. He could come out again next time and box really, really fucking well. I remember people saying after the first Dubois fight that he'd lost a bit, he looked his age, and then look what he'd done on since after that, and look how he'd come on. So we won't really know if that was just him aging overnight and being on his way to, I'm not going to say a shot fight, he's nowhere near shot, but I mean, yes, he's not his best anymore. Age dictates that. No matter how good you are, how thorough your training is, it doesn't matter. You can't defeat Father Time. It's an old, overused saying, but it's true. But there was a lot of things that could play into why Usyk did look the way he looked. Rico was good. Did Usyk overlook it? Did he make a mistake coming in heavier? Was coming in heavier intentional or unintentional? Some people have said it may be intentional, but then he didn't come in that heavy against Fury. But then Fury's big, but he's not the muscular unit, the specimen that Rico is. So who knows? Has his metabolism started to slow, and he finds it hard to bring fat off, because there was a little bit of flab around the middle there, a little bit loose around the middle. That was evident. You could see that. So there could be many things. Was he not mentally in that place because he didn't have the respect for Ego, didn't have the fear for Rico, and he just couldn't get up and get in that zone he needed to be in? Rico done very well. They stuck to a great game plan. They seem to take inspiration from Chisora's game plan, and it seems to me it looked like now there is a very evident road or strategy you would use to box Usyk, and that is in the way that Usyk said to Fury, "I won't leave you alone." That seems to be the strategy that gives Usyk problems, because as Chisora did and as Rico did, constant walk forward pressure, constant movement, a lot of lateral movement, but a lot of walk forward pressure, not letting off the gas for any second of every round, and that seems to what Usyk doesn't like. Usyk does like to get in a rhythm, but if you let him get in that rhythm, it's game over, and then he will slowly up the pace and go through the gears as the fight goes on. But he does seem to struggle, it seems, with the way Chisora went about it and the way Rico went about it, which they both got contrasting styles in a way, but they both used the same tactic, if you like, and it seemed to have success, didn't it? Rico, for me, was ahead on the cards. So there are a lot of things that could explain. There are a lot of variables and a lot of nuance that could be used to explain Usyk's performance or lack of performance. One of them being that fucking Rico was just good. And when this fight was announced, I went down the Rico Verhoeven rabbit hole, and I know Bob from Canada's Boxing Channel did, and we both had a little chat and said, this boy's good, this boy's got really good hands. And I watched a lot of his fights, a lot of his kickboxing fights, and he had really good hands. And this is before I knew that he'd spent 15 years working on Peter Fury. So that goes some way to explain why his hands were so good. Got a lot of respect for Peter Fury, a lot of time for Peter Fury. So unless you're completely devoid of talent, you can't spend 15 years under Peter Fury's tutelage for your boxing and not be any good at it. So Rico was good. He used a weird sort of style, that hunched over style, kind of got to him at the end because when fatigue got in, he could, when Usyk started bringing him up through the middle, that was where it sort of fell apart. But so there were a lot of things that could be used to explain why that outcome was the way it was. We get to the stoppage, and my quick take on the stoppage was I've seen worse stoppages, but for me, I thought it was stopped early, especially knowing that the clatter had gone and you knew that you were in the last 10 seconds. And regardless of whether he heard the bell or not, he certainly must have known there was 10 seconds left in the round. And as it was, he called it sort of a second after the bell had gone. For me, it was early, too early. Rico was not gone. He wasn't out on his feet. Yes, he was shipping some punches. Usyk's not the biggest puncher, and this is a man who's used to taking kicks. But yes, Rico was fatigued and tired at the time. But when you're gonna go, you're gonna stop it when the 11th round has ended and you're going into the 12th round of a fight in which Rico was winning. Now, there are a lot of arguments that say, well, Usyk would have stopped Rico in the 12th. And that may very well be the case. That would be where your money would be, going on the evidence from the end of the 11th. But we never got to see it. And again, on the flip side of that, if you go back and watch a lot of Rico's kickboxing fights, there are fights where he's been dropped, and I say dropped heavily, where his nose is splattered and his eyes gone. He's been dropped heavily, and he's got up to win. So by all accounts, his powers of recovery are very, very good. And it seemed to be this stoppage was stopped on the basis of almost that subliminal thought of the fact that this is a guy, a one-fight novice. Yes, he's a one-fight novice in boxing terms, but he's an elite-level combat sportsman. And it felt to me like the stoppage. I don't go with any fucking conspiracies and all that. You know what I mean? We don't sort of do that unless, for me, there's grounds for calling it a conspiracy, in which there weren't. I just think that he was refereed in a way that this was kind of a one-fight novice. He wasn't at the level as a combat sportsman that he really was at. And like I said, the chances are Usyk probably would have gone on to finish him. Usyk's that good and that good to finish it. He probably could have finished Rico. But he might not have. Rico might have survived the 12 rounds, and he deserved, with no time left on the clock, to have the round ended, have 60 seconds recovery and go out for the last, and it be made, he gets stopped conclusively and in a legitimate way. So I think the stoppage was unfair. Rico was winning. I won't have anyone say that he wasn't. For me, he was winning. That's my opinion. So yeah, that's for that. Now, as for Rico, he's been given a top 10 ranking by the WBC. If you remember, this is what happened to Francis Ngannou after his fight with Fury. I think he was given a top 10 ranking as well. How will Rico get on against a lot of the other top 10? Who knows? Again, we don't know. Has the surprise factor gone, or is Rico that good? And the Rico said in interviews since that, don't think that was all I have. I have more tools in my bag than that. They were just the tools we chose for the job on the night. And I'll take him at his word. I think Rico is as Peter Fury. I've got a lot of time for Peter Fury, and I think he's a class act. I think Rico is as well. I think Rico's a star. I think in a PR sense, Rico's just great. You can't not love that guy, can you? So a lot of respect for Rico. Hope he gets another fight. I hope he gets a rematch. I'm not sure who I want next, whether him or Caballero. Because Caballero, as we know, has been waiting a long time, and he's a very, very, very worthy opponent and should get his shot. So whoever, whatever comes first. As for Usyk's in a place now where, a lot of people were saying he should quit. He should quit and run for the hills. And he probably, and I always say this, I'm not the guy who believes I have any authority or justification for telling people when I think they should quit. But for me, I think it would have been a perfect time after the Dubois fight. That would have been a perfect time to go. Just before the clamour for the Moses Atama fight really got hot, he could have gone then. And I'm not saying that Moses Atama beats him, although that Usyk on that night, I think Moses Atama would have beat him. And I think it's a fight now, it's a live fight now. But after the second Dubois fight, I think that would have been a perfect time where people wouldn't have said, oh, he got out without fighting Atama. So now, he can't really retire on that performance, and I don't think he will. But I really do see, if that was a true representation of where Usyk is at now in his career, I do think if he has 3 more fights, I think he loses one of them. I 100% think he loses one of them. If you listen to the Alex Krajicek interview from last week, and I don't think he was saying that from a place of being sort of bitter or sore over the fact that he doesn't work anymore. I think that was a genuine place. He said he thought Usyk should have retired a while ago. And he's in a place now, because if he retires now, It's like, you know, you retire before you gave Rico another go. You retire before you got to the point where Kabayel or then later on Moses and Tama got their chance. Now he's got to stay around and fight these guys. And for me, I think you'll see Usyk lose in one of his next 3 fights. Right, what other business was there? Right, let's talk about Adam Azim, who boxed Steve Claggett, Canadian, on Saturday night. I like Adam Azim. I've liked Adam Azim a long time. I like Shane McGuigan. I rate Shane McGuigan. I think they're both class. I like Adam Azim. I think he's a... Let me just shut this up. I like Adam Azim. I think he's a good lad, and I think he's obviously come from a good family. He talks really well. He's respectful. Let's silence this. I just think he's class. I think he's a good lad. I like him a lot. I think he's very, very talented. I like a lot of what he does. For me, I'd like to see him have a little bit more side-to-side head movement because he does get hit. He gets hit down the middle of the straight shots. I think a lot of that is he's got this so elite confidence at the moment of boxing these guys. I think he thinks he can kind of walk through them and dispatch his opponent early, which is not going to work as you go up in the levels. We all know that. But he does get hit, and he is there to be hit from the straight shots. He sort of gets in and out of his feet, but he doesn't really move his head from side to side as much. I mean, this is just me. That's just what I would say. He does get hit a bit. There's a little bit of a lack of head movement, but a lot of the other stuff he does. There was a round, and I can't remember what round it was. He slipped and brought it up through the middle, and it landed flush, and it was picture perfect. It was beautiful. Beautiful is the only word I can use to describe it. And he dispatched Claggett in 3. I think he'd been stopped early in his career, but certainly not that early. So Adam Azim marches on, and we can talk about the Dalton Smith fight and all that. That's brilliant down the road. But yeah, Adam Azim, great. Also, Francesca Hennessy, I'd never seen before, but she's a talented lass, isn't she? She looks about 12, bless her, but she boxed really well early on, used her feet to get in and out of range really well, sort of got behind her jab. She looked sort of slightly short-armed, but she managed. And then when it was sort of evident that this other girl weren't really going to come with much ambition or ferociousness, she started to really sit down on her punches, dig her toes in the canvas and turn her hips and really throw them punches really nice and savage. And that was really nice to watch. So that was very pleasurable as well. One thing I want to talk about the Adam Azim fight on BBC Two is this. Now, BBC have boxing back now. Boxing back for the terrestrial masses, which should be a great thing and is a great thing. But the way I look at this from a marketing point of view. And if you look at boxing, look at the way boxing's gone, well, you know how big a thing boxing is by how much money's been thrown into it by Turkey. And now you've got like Eddie and especially Frank doing better than they've ever done. The deals on DAZN. Yeah, we know Sky done one, but, you know, DAZN, Queensbury, Matchroom. And you look at how big it is. And now you've got like, Ben Shalom was sort of mocked a bit when Ben Shalom contract ended with Sky and he went to the BBC, and it was like that should be a great thing because the BBC is an outlet where you can get it to all the public. I mean, most boxing fans, even the casuals, all the casual boxing lads that I know will have DAZN. They'll have DAZN and they'll buy the odd pay-per-view, but they still have it. Now, so there's value in this sport. But to me, if you're the BBC, if you get Adam Azim, who is a rising star, but a star nonetheless, and Francesca Hennessy, you got a stage here to push some female boxing out to the public as well. When you put it on BBC Two, which is your kind of second tier channel underneath your marquee channel, being BBC One, to me, you instantly cheapen it. You put it, and this is no disrespect to carpet bowls or indoor bowls, but that's where you expect to see that. Now, this is boxing. You've now put money into boxing. You've now put your faith in Ben Shalom and you've brought boxing back to the mainstream masses. And you've put it away on BBC Two. To me, you instantly cheapen your product. The product you've just invested money in, you've now cheapened it by putting it on Saturday night primetime on BBC Two. And this is what I mean by this. This is what cheapens it even more for me. Do you know what it was up against on BBC's marquee fucking channel? BBC One, the one where all the big players are. Saturday night, everyone's sat in. Saturday night, what are we doing Saturday night? You know, if you're a person that watches fucking terrestrial TV, I ain't, never do, never watch it. Because it's crap. You know, generally, I'll have a look on the TV player and see what's on. Total load of shit. But this is what Adam Azim took second fiddle to on Saturday night, all right? Blankety fucking blank. Blankety blank. And what to me that says is that you value that blankety blank has more marquee value, more appeal to the masses. I suppose it probably does at this point because you're shoving fucking boxing hidden away on BBC Two. While blankety fucking blank, mind-numbing absolute shite is on your marquee channel BBC One. And then after that, so blankety blank was like 8 o'clock. Before that was Doctor Who. Not a fan of that either. And then after that, you had Casualty. Now, listen, I know Casualty's been running for fucking ever, and I know Casualty's a high-quality drama show and all that, but you've just invested into boxing. You're a terrestrial channel that can now put boxing out to the masses. Even the grands and all them sort of people who just never veer from ITV and BBC One, and a lot of the old traditional types who still love the BBC, the British Bullshit Corporation, are on BBC One. They're not going to say, oh, there's boxing on BBC Two. Let's jump over to there. No, you've got to fucking ram it down their face on BBC One. Tell them that this is a marquee event. Tell them this is special. Tell them this is a thing that on Saturday night you need to be around your TV for. You don't do that by fucking hiding it on BBC Two. You put it on BBC One. Make it prime time. If you don't make it prime time, it will never be prime time. Do you know what I mean, though? Do you know what I mean? You get a sport back on terrestrial TV like boxing that most people will sit and watch a fucking fight. Even people who don't really watch boxing. But they ain't going to veer off BBC One because putting on BBC Two tells them it ain't really that much quality. Tells them it isn't that much value. Put it on BBC One, you're instantly telling the people who still believe in terrestrial TV that this is a product, this is a valuable product. But no, you stick it on BBC fucking Two. I'll leave that there because I'll get on a bit of a rant, as you can see. I'm throwing things about and all sorts now. Also, on Saturday night, though, Saturday night, we had Dimitri Bivol. Dimitri Bivol is a fine dining restaurant with 3 Michelin stars. That's what Dimitri Bivol is. Anyone who appreciates the technical art and the artistry and ability, and it's just artistry. Anyone who really appreciates that will know what I mean when I say that Dimitri Bivol is just a joy to watch. He's a Michelangelo, he's a, whatever. If you watch my videos from Bivol Beterbiev 1 and 2, you'll know how much I fanboy over these sort of fighters. But just everything he does, and he so much so I fanned over him, so I forgot the name of the fucking opponent. But everything he does is just perfect. He cruised to a very, very comfortable, easy win. Even though in the first round he threw sort of a wide check left hook, going backwards, dropped the guy, beautiful shot. It looked like he was sort of conserving himself a little bit because he has been out of the ring for a while, and it looked like he was just conserving himself over the distance, and was sort of fairly low output. Then he sort of started to go up the gears, I suppose he felt more comfortable. But just everything he does is it's just sublime technique, sublime skill, sublime ability. If you go to Dimitri Bivol's YouTube channel, there's a lot of training footage on there. And if you watch him in front of the mirror, or you watch him on the pads or on the bags, and you just watch the way he uses his feet, glides and bounces, just throws his punches, every punch comes off each other, there's correct rotation and everything. It's just fucking beautiful. There's another word, it's just beautiful. I hope we get Beterbiev 3, the third fight. I did say after the second fight, I hope both of them got a good rest before they fight again, if they fight again, and they're getting that now, certainly. So I picked Beterbiev for the first fight. I picked Bivol for the second fight. You can go back and check these in my previews. And I picked Bivol for the third fight at this stage. Beterbiev is yet older again, and he's not active at all, really. Both great fighters, massive fan of both. But just, I watched Bivol and you're just like, it's almost just, it's like how lucky it is, how great it is just to watch an absolute master of their craft go about their business. It's just fucking fun, fantastic. It wasn't really much of a fight. Bivol just cruised very, very comfortably to a 12 round. 12 round? Yeah, 12 round. Of course it was top. Just brilliant stuff. That's it. I'll see you all soon.